There was a YouTube upload from a guy named Rotan. I missed when WoW was just a game. I didn't watch it. It came up on my YouTube recommended, and I added it to watch here on stream. I don't know what it's about, but it's such a good title that I almost just wanted to watch it. So I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's just watch it with you guys. So anyway, I missed when WoW was just a game. Let's see what it's about.
I miss when World of Warcraft was just a game to me. In fact, I missed when most games were just games. I was reminded of this last night while playing Quest 64, an old Nintendo 64 game. There's barely any direction, there's no objectives, and there's a ton of rooms and corridors and hallways that just lead nowhere. It annoyed me at first. I would say stuff like, why would the developers put that there if it has no purpose? Or I'd say something like, that's bad game design. But then I did some reflection. There was a day before good game design, when games weren't designed to keep you engaged, or keep your dopamine levels high, or give you constant breadcrumb rewards. There was a day when they were just games, to play without purpose just for fun, almost like playing pretend when you were a kid. So why did the developers put that empty hallway there? Well, because someone may just want to explore around for fun. How about that? Playing a game for the fun of it.
Whoa!
I used to feel the same way about
Hot
World of
take.
Warcraft. Nowadays, I care about item levels, I care about rating, I care about new content and the best talent builds and the top classes and the top specs and the next patch and the buffs
Fair.
and the nerfs. And even Blizzard
So
seems
true.
to have adapted to this style of thinking, making every new zone and raid high octane and high priority in the storyline. There's no time anymore to just relax and play. But it wasn't always like this. When I first started playing World of Warcraft in 2006, I was a dwarf warrior and I had no clue what I was doing. But
Well, that's why I think a lot of people had fun playing hardcore last year. Because it made you kind of just play the game again. For the first time since 2004, you would log in and kind of just like play the game without thinking about parsing and numbers and speed leveling and power leveling and like how fast. It's like, no, you're just kind of playing to survive and play the game. You get an upgrade from a quest, and it's a big deal. That's why self-found hardcore is how you play hardcore, right? Like you play without trading, or buying gold, or power leveling someone in a dungeon, right? You play solo, and you just kind of play the game. And that's kind of the reason why hardcore caught on. It was nostalgic. It was exciting that you could play the game for once without all these other factors coming in, right?
I didn't know one thing. I loved being engrossed in the world. I would go into every building in Ironforge just to look
just to
around
see
and
what
think
it
how
is.
cool it might be to just hang out here with friends and talk.
Yeah.
Not questing, not leveling,
Exactly.
not gearing, just hanging out in a cool secluded place in Ironforge talking about life. Same thing for this random building in Orgrimmar. I barely made it to level 20 on that first character, but I probably explored most of the entire world map. And I can still remember the awe I felt when I accidentally stumbled into the burning steppes by walking through the broken gate in the north of Redridge Mountains, and suddenly I arrived in Fire and Brimstone. Seeing the blackened, smoky sky and the lava pouring from the mountains was amazing, and seeing the creatures and dragons that roamed the land made me excited to eventually come back and quest here, which I never did. Oops. But I do still remember that feeling, the wonder and the awe at every zone and every turn. And now I'm so familiar with every zone that I gotta admit I'm pretty killer at WoW GeoGuessr. So that begs the question, is this just a nostalgia thing? And I don't think so, as Classic WoW and Season of Discovery in particular still have their moments of invoking wonder in me more so than modern WoW. And I think what it comes down to is the idea of a game being just that, a game. The process of not needing to follow an ideology of good game design, or retention practices, or meaningful progression systems, or balance. In the many empty buildings in each capital city, I feel the echoes of players and guilds that came before and probably hung out within their walls chatting in-game rather than using something like Discord to do voice chat. And even beyond the capital cities, there are empty vistas and areas.
Is this actually here in-game? It says help? I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Is this like a real spot on a mountain like above Ironforge or something? Huh. I never knew about this spot in game. That's pretty rad.
Areas of the game that some may consider useless or poorly designed that were really just there to add flavor for those who wanted it. And
Right.
even endgame raids in Classic WoW like Molten Core didn't feel as immediately pressing to complete as soon as you could. I mean, there wasn't always a world-ending catastrophe just on the other side if you didn't hurry up and progress through the raid. In modern WoW, there is a greater emphasis on the critical path and on progression for the sake of story, and in a sense, I get it. You have to keep the players engaged, you have to keep the stakeholders happy, and you need to constantly have high stakes. Unfortunately, Blizzard already crossed the border of highest stakes of all time with the Shadowlands expansion and the universe-ending Jailer. I mean, how can you create another engaging story without putting the universe at stake again? But that's just the point for me. I don't want another universe-ending, world-ending, or even continent-ending storyline. I want a lived-in world with smaller, more meaningful bite-sized stories that are fun to explore. I don't want a fresh new continent where it feels like nobody's ever been there before. I want to feel as if I'm part of the world again, not the champion of Azeroth. I want to walk around and explore the corners of each zone and building, not for a reward or a secret, but for the fun of it. But the gaming landscape has changed. We don't need to talk using in-game chat anymore. Discord has a great interface, a bunch of communities, and it's easier than ever to voice chat with your friends. Back in the day, having a TeamSpeak or Vent server was a big deal, and having good enough internet to run that at the same time as playing World of Warcraft was an even bigger deal. Stereotypically nowadays, gamers are painted as these nitro-fueled, energy drink-chugging, RGB lighting, enthralled adult children. And to pander to that stereotype, we need flashy games that pack a punch, and better pack one quick before your captive audience chooses one of a million other games promising the same thing. But there's another catch. They're all promising the same thing. How awesome would it be to finally have a World of Warcraft expansion or experience with a slower pace, a chiller vibe, and some good old fun exploration? And no, I'm not talking about the cozy game genre, which, side note, it's probably growing fast because more people are wanting that type of vibe, but I don't want WoW to be a farming sim or an idle game. I would want the upcoming WoW expansions to feel like classic WoW and Season of Discovery in their pacing. Slowed down, less high stakes, less flashy light.
Like, there's no way. If you want a modern MMO, WoW is a decent product. Or even better than decent product. If you want a classic MMO, you have Season of Discovery as an option, you have Classic Era as an option, you even have Kata as an option. If you want a classic feeling MMO, don't play retail and expect that, or you're going to be disappointed. And Blizzard knows this. That's why they offer two products. If you like a classic MMO, they have a product for you. If you want a modern MMO, they have a product for you. But if you go to classic and you want, like, oh, this is too slow, it's like, well, then go play retail. We have this other product for you. It's like going to buy a car and you buy a sedan from, like, Toyota, and you're like, this car is too small. I can't even fit all my groceries and kids in the car. It's like, well, we'll get a bigger car then. We have other options that are bigger for you, that'll suit your needs of what you're looking for in a car. You don't need the sedan. Get the four-door, or like get the mid-size SUV then, or the larger car. Go for a large car then. You don't have to do that. But I think that's probably how Blizzard feels. Like, if you want that classic feeling, then don't play retail, man. Just don't. And that's something that's been hard for me to really come to terms with over the last couple of years. Because I agree to some extent. I would love retail to return to that, but it won't. Maybe I'm a doomer. Maybe I'm a realist with that, but, like, I just don't think it will. Retail's its own beast now, and it's good in its own way. It's just not that anymore. And if you want that, there's options for it. It's like OSRS and RuneScape 2, RuneScape. Yeah, the new RuneScape. It's like, well, you have two options. Do you want the classic one or do you want the new one? Take your pick.
Less progression systems with more corners to explore, whether they're empty or not. I don't have a proposed solution, and I'm not saying by any means I hate World of Warcraft now or that I'm quitting retail. No, none of that. I just wanted to throw my hat and my feelings into the ring, and I'm sure some of you out there would feel the same.
Yeah.
I still like to just sit on the cliffs of Thunderbluff and look out on Mulgore. I still like to hear the music of Elwyn Forest and Stormwind as I'm strolling through. And sometimes, even as a heroic raider in Dragonflight, I still like to RP walk. And I hope that I'm not alone in saying...
Bro, we're talking to a role player, Classic Andy here, and for some reason he's stuck on retail. Like...
I miss when games were games, and we would play just for fun. Thanks for watching, and take care.
Oh man, I don't know. I thought it was a solid upload. I agree with him, but it's like I don't think retail. In fact, I would say retail is going further from this. I would say it's not getting closer. Like the next expansion, you have like account-wide stuff and even more quality of life and even probably like harder content and raids and like delves, which is like more solo stuff. So like less interaction with players. Like it's going away from what you want. Not in a bad way. I think there's a lot of good in the new expansion. But if this is what you want, I would just recommend playing more Classic. Right? Like people always come into the stream and they're like, should I play Classic or Retail? I'm like, well, what do you want? Do you want really hard content, novelty, new raids, new seasons, transmog collectibles, achievement hunting gear? Play Retail, man. That's for you. It's faster pace. If you want something faster pace, you want something like a classic MMO, slow. The world has soul, engagement with other players, role playing, classic RPG elements, right? Play Classic. They're two different things. Like, take your pick. Play both. They're both great. You know, take your pick. But like, if you go to one and expect the other, it's going to be a disappointing experience to say the least.